Hello everyone, welcome to Arvind Academy's Polity classes. This is Giri Prasad. Arvind Academy has launched online classes and online test series for Group 1, Group 2, Sub-Inspector and Police Constable for the aspirants of Telangana. Any queries, please contact Arvind Academy for fuller details about these courses. Also, subscribe to Arvind Academy's YouTube Telegram channel so that you get all the notifications of the videos that are being uploaded by Arvind Academy. And also join Arvind Academy Telegram channel in order to enhance your preparation. Polity classes that I am going to teach, they are highly relevant for any competitive exam that has Indian polity as the syllabus. It is very much relevant for UPSC Civil Services Prelims exam, Group 1, Group 2, Police, Sub-Inspector and also Constable. So let us start today's class. In the previous class, we have learned what is Constitution. Previous class, we have learned what is a constitution. The definition of constitution, objectives of a constitution, functions of a constitution, and significance of constitution. If anyone has missed this class, please watch this video. So this is what we have discussed in the previous class. Today we are going to discuss what is constitutional law and what is constitutionalism and some facts about constitutions across the world and the facts about origin of constitution. So before going ahead with today's classes, let us recollect somewhat about previous classes. So what is a constitution? A constitution is a visionary document that has fundamental principles according to which a state is constituted and governed. So simply put, constitution is the basis of governance in our country. It lays down a basic political structure. Constitution lays down the basic structure of political system. Basic structure of political system under which its people are governed. Under which its people are governed. So constitution has the basic structure of political system under which its people are governed. So what is the structure of political system? What is the structure of political system? Yesterday we have seen it has established three organs. I am talking about the political structure, the basic political structure. It has established three organs. What are those organs? Legislature, executive and judiciary. Not only constitution has established three organs, but it also has defined the powers. Defined the powers and also demarcated their responsibilities. Defined their powers and demarcated their relations, demarcated their responsibilities. So what does legislature do? It makes laws. And what does executive do? It executes laws. What laws? Executive implements only those laws that are enacted or made by the legislature. And those laws must be in the framework of the constitution. This is the basic political structure. And what does judiciary do? As I told you, adjudication. It resolves the conflicts. It resolves the disputes. If the legislature makes rules that are much against to what is written in the constitution, then judiciary will correct it. If executive is implementing laws that are outside the laws made by the legislature or against to again what is written in the document called constitution, judiciary corrects it. So the role of judiciary is adjudication. So three organs have their different roles, responsibilities and powers. And also it has defined, demarcated the powers and responsibilities. It has also defined the relationship with each other and in turn their relationship with the people, right? So this is what the basic structure of a political system. And now constitution is a overarching framework that will enable the state to fulfill the aspirations and goals of a society. This is point number 3, aspirations and goals of society. So in order to fulfill the aspirations and goals of a society so as to create a just society, the constitution has envisioned an enabling government. See the word here, it is very much important. It is enabling government. Enabling government. So in order to fulfill the aspirations and goals of a society, the constitution has envisioned an enabling government. Also, in order to fulfill the aspirations and goals of individuals, the constitution has envisioned a limited government. So we have seen aspirations and goals of a society and now aspirations and goals of individuals. Aspirations and goals of individuals can be fulfilled only when they are given freedom and rights. And these freedom and rights are nothing but they are resulting in a limited government, because the government has powers. It can make use of its powers to discharge its responsibilities, but it cannot make use of its powers to take away the basic fundamental rights of individuals. Why fundamental rights of individuals is a requirement? What is the necessity of fundamental rights? Those rights are fundamental in nature and it will enable the individual to fulfill his aspirations and goals. So when we talk about freedom of individuals, it is nothing but it is limiting the powers of the government. If it is limiting the powers of the government, obviously it is called as limited government. Hence, constitution has envisioned limited government. Constitution has envisioned limited government so as to enable the individuals to attain their aspirations and goals. So we have seen the constitution. We have seen the constitution enabling the government. Enabling government. Why is this enabling government? Yes, to fulfill the aspirations and goals of a society. And it has also envisioned a limited government. it has also envisioned a limited government because to enable the individuals attain their aspirations and goals. Constitution has also reflected certain fundamental values that the individuals are expected or supposed to follow them, that we may not trespass them, and those values have been inherited from Indian freedom struggle and have been incorporated while making the constitution. Hence those are fundamental values. That is why we say constitution gives us a moral identity. So this was what we learnt in the previous class, and you please look into that objective, significance and functions also. Not of much use, but you will get to know the functions of constitution a bit deeper. Now let us move to today's class, constitutional law. What is a constitutional law? What is a constitutional law? There has been no question so far from this particular topic, but once there can be a question on constitutionalism, why can't there be a question on constitutional law also? So let me explain you what is a constitutional law. Constitutional law is a fundamental law that is contained in the provisions of the constitution. So the constitution is a document which has certain provisions. It also includes, those provisions also include the basic structure of political system, enabling government, limited government. It has certain provisions, right? So a fundamental law that is contained in the provisions of the constitution is called as a constitutional law. Example, I'll give you an example for constitutional law. Division of powers or distribution of powers between the organs of the state. We have seen this, right? So legislature, executive and judiciary, there has been a distribution of powers. That's what even I called it as separation of powers, as quoted by Montesquieu. So separation of powers is also a feature of limited government, as I told you. Please make a note of it, because I'm going to explain you what is limited government and what are the features or characteristic features of limited government as of now. So separation of powers, distribution of powers. The constitution has itself demarcated the responsibilities. The constitution has itself demarcated the responsibilities between the three organs of the state, right? So that division of powers between the three organs is an example of constitutional law. I'll give you another example. Example number 2. Division of powers between union and its units. Division of power between union and its units. So we have center, we have states, right? We shall talk about it. I'll teach you in detail about that in the later classes, but for now, so there is a center and of course states. Center has its own powers, states have their own powers as provided by our constitution itself. So there is a certain division of powers between center and states, that is also called as a constitutional law. So it is one more example of constitutional law. The third one. In the modern societies, especially this is applicable, fundamental rights, that is nothing but liberties of individuals. Liberties of individuals. As I told you, liberty of individuals is a characteristic feature of limited government. make a connection while you read everything so that you remember it and there is no necessity of many revisions. So fundamental rights is also an example of constitutional law. So I gave you the definition and at the same time 3 examples of what is constitutional law. Tomorrow a question can be asked in this way about constitutional law. So once again I'll repeat the definition of constitutional law. Constitutional law is a fundamental law that is contained in the provisions of the Constitution. The examples of constitutional law are distribution of powers or division of powers between the 3 organs and distribution of powers between the center and states. And the third one, fundamental rights. So which of the following are the examples of a constitutional law? So option 1 is division of powers between the 3 organs. Option 2 is distribution of powers between center and states. Option 3 is fundamental rights. Option 4 is all of the above. So the answer is, what is the answer for this question? Please comment in the comment section. So this is what is constitutional law. Well, constitutional law, what are the sources of constitutional law? What are the sources of constitutional law? Sources of constitutional law. As I told you, it is the fundamental law as contained in the provisions of the Constitution. So what is the source of constitutional law? Yes, text of the Constitution. Text of the Constitution. So is the source of constitutional law only confined to the text of the Constitution? No, certainly not. Constitution law is not only about the text of the Constitution but also about constitutional case law. Constitutional case laws, conventions, and also statutes. What do you mean by statutes? Acts, nothing but acts. Statutes enacted under the provisions of Constitution. Enacted under the provisions of Constitution. So these are the 4 sources of constitutional law. It is not only the text of the Constitution but also constitutional case law, conventions, and statutes enacted under the provisions, certain provisions of Indian Constitution. So these are the sources. This can also be a potential question. Now let's move to a new topic. What is constitutionalism? Next topic, what is constitutionalism? This is very important. In fact, this is an important question even for civil services mains exam also and group 1 mains exam also. What is constitutionalism? What is constitutionalism? Well, if you see, many countries have constitutions. Do you mean to say that they are democratic? Okay, I'll put it another way. Many countries are democratic, Do you mean to say that they have constitutions? Just because a country has a constitution, will that country become democratic? Just because a country is a democratic country, will that have a constitution for sure? Well, let's find answers for all these questions. Firstly, the definition of constitutionalism. A polity governed by or under a constitution is called constitutionalism. What is constitutionalism? It is a polity governed by the constitution. It is a polity governed under the constitution is called constitutionalism. So this is the definition, please note it down. It is a polity governed by or under the constitution. So we have erased certain questions. What is that? The countries which have constitutions, are they democratic? Certainly not. Because Russia has a constitution, but is it a democratic one? Not. China has a constitution, but is it a democratic one? Not. So, the more appropriate definition I'll give you. It is a polity. It is a polity governed by or under a constitution that essentially ordains limited government and rule of law. These are important. Many countries have constitutions, but they have not envisioned a limited government. Many countries have constitutions, but there is no rule of law. Hence, they must be having constitutions, but there is no constitutionalism. That's what the definition of constitutionalism is. So, a polity being governed by a constitution that has essentially what features? Limited government and rule of law. You getting it? So, what is limited government and what is rule of law? I'll explain it in detail just a little bit later, but as I told you, separation of powers is a salient feature of limited government. Any liberties given to the citizens is also a feature of limited government, or any powers given to other bodies other than legislature, executive and judiciary, the three organs established by the constitution, because a state is to be governed. So any public body which has been given powers is nothing but a feature of limited government. So I'll explain in detail the features of limited government, very important concept. And what is rule of law? Rule of law is nothing but equality before law and equal protection of laws. So this is actually Article 14 of Indian Constitution. I'll explain it in detail when the Articles of Fundamental Rights chapter is taught. So as of now, see what is rule of law is everyone is equal before law. It is rule of law. It is not ruled by men. So remember this. Constitution has envisioned a limited government. Constitution has envisioned an enabling government. Why limited government? Aspirations and goals of individuals. Why enabling government? Aspirations and goals of society. And Constitution has also envisioned rule of law. What is that? Rule of law. Constitution has also envisioned a government which is not ruled by men, but it is rule of law. Rule of law, rule by men. Which is the right option? Yes. Our constitution has envisioned rule of law, not rule by men. So what is that? Constitution, Indian constitution has envisioned a limited government, an enabling government, and also a government which has rule of law and not rule by men. Remember that. Well, so this is the definition of constitutionalism. What is that? Constitutionalism is a polity being governed by a constitution that essentially has limited government and rule of law. This is the reason why many countries have constitutions but they are not democratic, because they do not have the features of constitutionalism. They do not have the features of constitutionalism. Hence, they have constitutions but there is no constitutionalism in them. So that is why every country has a constitution doesn't mean that they are democratic. But if a country is democratic, it means that it has constitution. Right? So what are the salient features? What are the characteristic features of constitutionalism? Let us see. We have seen the definition of constitutionalism. Even write it down. Write one more thing. As I told you, constitution has envisioned, E-N-V-I-S-I-O-N-E-D. Constitution has envisioned, number one, limited government. Why limited government? I told you, right? Why limited government? Please write it down in the comment section. It has envisioned an enabling government. Why enabling government? Answer this in the comment section. It has also envisioned a government which has rule of law but not rule by men. Which has a rule of law but not rule by men. So this is the constitution. This is what constitution has envisioned. Write it down. Every time, so far the polity is concerned, try to write it down in a flowchart format, a pictorial format, so that you catch the essence and concept and remember it forever without many revisions. Right? So now about constitutionalism, we have seen what is constitutionalism, and now see the characteristic features of constitutionalism. This can be a probable question. Which of the following are the characteristic features of constitutionalism? Or there can be one more question. Which of the following correctly define what is constitutionalism? Right? So let us see. What is the first feature? I told you, limited government versus absolute government. If there is an absolute government, in the sense there is no constitutionalism. If there is limited government, this is the feature of constitutionalism. Number two, rule of law versus rule by men. So if it is rule by men, then it is not constitutionalism. There the constitutionalism is not prevailing. If it is rule of law, which means that constitutionalism prevails. Third, separation of powers. Separation of powers. As I told you yesterday, separation of powers versus concentration of powers. If all powers is given to one body, it is called as concentration of powers or centralization of powers. That is against to constitutionalism. So what is constitutionalism? Separation of powers. What is constitutionalism? Limited government. What is constitutionalism? Rule of law. What is constitutionalism? Periodic elections. Not only periodic elections, but also free and fair elections. Not only periodic elections, but also periodic elections in the sense it should happen once in 4 years like in US or once in 5 years like India, but not like once in 10 years like in China, right? So periodic elections, it is constitutionalism. And if the elections are conducted in such a biased manner, do you say that constitutionalism prevails? Not. Such as in the recent Iran's presidential election, we see the elections are not actually that free and fair. So the elections must be free and fair. It must not be biased to any particular political body. For that, a body is established so as to conduct free and fair elections. A separate organization, a separate body has been established, that is called as election commission. And election commission is such independent, such autonomous, that it has the power to conduct free and fair elections periodically. In the sense, this election commission has been given the power, and I told you earlier, what is that? If a power is given to any other public body, it is nothing but limited government. So, anyhow, limited government is a feature of constitutionalism, and free and fair elections being conducted by independent election body, in the sense power is being given to a public body other than the three organs, which is nothing but limited government. So there is a connect here. Again, this thing is resulting in limited government. Next one, elected government. Elected government, that is legitimate government. If you see in Myanmar, the legitimate government has been thrown away and a military coup happened there, and now it is being ruled by a military government. Now that military government exists there, it is not a legitimate one. What is a legitimate government? That government which is elected by the people is called legitimate government, and it is an essential feature of constitutionalism. And now, responsible and accountable government. So the government should be responsible to whom? Of course, to the people. Why? Because it is elected by the people itself. So it should be responsible to the people, and also any action, any omission or commission, the government is held accountable to the people. Next, independent judiciary. Independent judiciary. Why? Because judiciary is the constitution's custodian. Earlier in the previous class we discussed constitution is the supreme law of the land, in the sense that constitution is final. Then that constitution is always obviously to be guarded. So who is the guardian of the constitution? Who is that who is going to enforce the constitution? It is judiciary. And now that if judiciary is not independent of any pressure, if it is not independent of any influence, then how can it protect the constitution, which is the supreme law of the land? Hence, judiciary is to be independent of especially the executive, so that it exercises its duty without fear or favor. So independent judiciary is also an essential feature of constitutionalism. Here if you see, I have written down principles of constitutionalism. You can note it down. Principles of constitutionalism. So you can note it down. Principles of constitutionalism. See, I have discussed a few things. Separation of powers. Separation of powers. What is that separation of powers? As I told you, distribution of powers between the three organs of the state. Separation of powers is an essential feature of constitutionalism. We have discussed it earlier. Responsible and accountable government. Yes, it has been discussed. Independent judiciary. Yes, it has been discussed. Individual rights and liberties. That is what? Nothing but fundamental rights. So this is resulting in limited government. Limited government. Hence, limited government is an essential feature of constitutionalism. Thereby, this one also becomes feature of constitutionalism. And civilian control of military. In India, military doesn't involve in the democratic decision making, because democracy is about representatives, and the representatives should not be influenced by no other authority except by the people, because they are elected by the people and they are responsible for the people, they are accountable to the people. So military has got nothing to do with political decision making, and in India military doesn't interfere, whereas in other countries military plays a very important role. Example, Pakistan. Hence, in Pakistan there might be a constitution, but there is no constitutionalism. In India there is civilian control of military, in the sense that the political leaders, the representatives, they have the control over military, rather than the military having control over the representatives. Police accountability is also constitutionalism. As I told you, police is a part of the government. So here we have discussed government, responsible and accountable government, and hence police accountability is also a feature of constitutionalism. There are few more things, few more principles of constitutionalism. Let me discuss that. So apart from these principles, few more principles. As I told you, legitimate government, that is nothing but elected government. Periodic elections. Periodic elections which are free and fair. Independent media. Media also plays a very important role in a democratic government. It is the fourth pillar. It is called as the fourth pillar of democracy, right? The three pillars are legislature, executive and judiciary. It is considered as the fourth pillar. Such an important media must definitely be independent, so as to hold the government accountable. So independent media and rule of law. Rule of law. What is rule of law? Everyone is equal before law. As I told you, it cannot be ruled by men. If it is ruled by men, then there is no constitutionalism. If it is rule of law, it is constitutionalism. Popular sovereignty. What is popular sovereignty? The final power is vested in the hands of the people. It is called as popular sovereignty. The people are supreme. The people are sovereign. The people are the ultimate and final authority. It is from the people that the government is actually deriving the power. And that is the reason we start our preamble of Indian Constitution saying that we, the people of India, in the sense that people are the ultimate source of power. That is what we call it as popular sovereignty. And then yes, fundamental rights. In fact, it's been given here. So these are the essential features of constitutionalism. So note down all these things. This is anyhow given in that slide. Independent media is not given. Periodic elections is not given. Legitimate government is not given. So please take a note of it. What is popular sovereignty? The ultimate source of authority or power is the people. The ultimate authority rests in the hands of the people. That is what we call it as popular sovereignty. People are supreme. People are sovereign. People are the final and ultimate authority. So this is what about constitutionalism. Well, there is an important one more dimension to this regarding constitutionalism itself. The dimension is Rameswar Prasad versus Union of India case. Rameswar Prasad versus Union of India case. In the year 2006, this is very important. In this case, for the very first time, the Supreme Court has recognized the concept called as constitutionalism. Supreme Court has recognized the concept called as constitutionalism. In the case Rameswar Prasad versus Union of India case in the year 2006. Well, see, the question can be in this way. In which of the following Supreme Court judgments or in which of the following judgments the Supreme Court has recognized the concept of constitutionalism? This can be a very potential question for group 1 or group 2 or police jobs. In the case Rameswar Prasad versus Union of India case. So today what have we discussed? We have discussed what is constitutionalism, what are the essential features of constitutionalism, what is constitutional law, and the examples for constitutional law. Right? So take a note of whatever I am writing here. Apart from the slides, well, see, I hope the picture is clear to you. This is about democracy. So if anybody asks you what is democracy, yes, we would say that democracy as defined by Abraham Lincoln, of the people, for the people and by the people. But that is not the only definition. It is a very limited and a narrow definition. These are the features of democracy. Earlier we have seen essential features of constitutionalism, and these are all the essential features of democracy. I am not going to explain you because this has less probability to be asked in the question, asked in the exam. But if you see democracy, in a democracy, rights greater than powers. Can anyone explain this? Fundamental rights versus powers of whom? Powers of government. As I told you, fundamental rights always come in clash with the powers of the government, resulting in or limiting the government. So fundamental rights is nothing but limitations on the powers of the government. That's what we call it as limited government. So that is democracy. So here if you could see limited government. Protection of minorities. In the previous class we saw a case study where the girls, just because they are minority in number, their opinions are not taken into consideration. So in a democratic country, protection of minorities matters. Only if there is protection of minorities, it can be called as a democratic country. So protection of minorities is an essential feature of a democracy. And then independent judiciary, because judiciary is the custodian of constitution. This has been asked in the civil service prelims exam. Which of the following is the custodian of constitution? President, Prime Minister, Parliament, or yes, Supreme Court. So judiciary is the custodian of constitution, and hence such judiciary must be independent. Independent of whom? Independent of executive. Do not get confused. I'll explain you what is executive, what is legislature, what is judiciary in the coming classes according to the syllabus. This is actually not there in the syllabus. These are the additional classes being taken by the initiative of Aravind Academy, so as to give you a very proper understanding before starting or kicking off the syllabus. Next, constitutional bodies. What are constitutional bodies? I am going to tell you, but for now I'll give you an example. Election Commission. I told you periodic elections, a feature of constitutionalism, and to conduct free and fair elections periodically a body is required. So that is Election Commission. And for the body to conduct the elections in a free and fair manner, it is to be independent. That's what it is being said. Independent constitutional bodies. Fair chance of losing elections for a ruling party. Real power in the hands of representatives, not in the hands of military officials or not in the hands of foreign governments. Because today US and many other countries, and in fact even earlier too, especially in the mid 20th century, US has influenced the country's political structure. US has influenced the country's political system, and so is the condition with even USSR also. So the real power must be in the hands of the representatives, because India is a democratic country and democracy is executed in the form of indirect democracy in India, because democracy is people ruling directly. But India is a vast country. Hence in India, democracy is indirect. This indirect democracy is also called as representative democracy. Why we call it as representative democracy? In democracy, people rule. In representative democracy, representatives rule. But who are these representatives? These representatives are nothing but they represent the people. They get elected by the people, and they take the decisions that are in the favor and the interests of the people. So in India, there is indirect democracy called as representative democracy. That's what, hence the power must be in the hands of representatives, not in the hands of military officials or not in the hands of foreign governments. Free and independent media that we have discussed. Social diversities are respected. No influence of external forces. Yes. And then these are the people's rule. Elections in which free and fair, you have the right to vote, you have the right to contest, and one man, one vote, one person. Periodic election, peaceful transfer of power, and independent election commission. Vibrant civil society, democratic rights, social diversities, which has been written again here, and deliberations and negotiations is an essential feature of democracy. So these are the features of democracy. I am not going to explain all these things in detail because this is not actually part of the exam, but this should be a part of your preparation. So please make a note of every feature. Please make a note of every feature, right? So we shall move to the next concept. We shall move to the next concept. What is limited government? Because right from the first class, I have been talking about limited government. So what is this limited government? I told you the constitution has envisioned a limited government. Constitution has envisioned a limited government. It has envisioned an enabling government. It has envisioned a government where there is rule of law and not rule by men. So this is what Constitution has envisioned, and let us learn about this limited government. So how a government is limited? Okay. How a government is limited? How a government is, what do you call it? A limited government. So firstly, yes, we have discussed in the earlier class previously, what is that? Distribution of powers or division of powers between the three organs of the state: legislature, executive and judiciary. Between the three organs of the state, there is distribution of powers which results in limited government. If there is concentration of powers, that is power being held with only one single body, then it is called as absolute government, right? Concentration of powers is nothing but absolute government. What is this? Absolute government. But here it is distribution of powers, hence it is limited government. And liberties of individuals. This is nothing but fundamental rights. How this will actually make a government limited? Because in the process of applying powers by the government, it cannot violate the fundamental rights of individuals. Hence, if there is a clash or a conflict between powers of the government and liberties of individuals, it is the liberties of individuals that is going to prevail, not the powers of the government. Hence, these liberties of the individuals, they restrain the powers of the government. They restrain the powers of the government. They limit the powers of the government, and hence liberties of individuals, which is nothing but fundamental rights, they are a feature of limited government. And now, distribution of powers between center and states. Between center and states, wherever there is distribution of powers, it is going to make the government limited, because the power is not concentrated. If it is concentrated, it is absolute government. And periodic elections, because if the elections are conducted periodically and the government is not performing well, obviously the people are going to oust the government, remove the government, and will elect a new government. Is it not? So the government is not absolute. It is not that if it is elected for once, it can rule the people for lifetime. The power is not that absolute. Its power is only limited to 5 years or 4 years, whatever the period of elections is. In India, it is 5 years. Hence, periodic elections is an essential feature of limited government. And as I told you, power given to other public bodies. Power given to other public bodies. This is also an essential feature of limited government. Now that power is given to 3 organs by the constitution itself: legislature, executive and judiciary. If the power is given to even other public bodies also, it is also an essential feature of limited government. How? This we have seen it earlier. I gave you the explanation. Election Commission. In order to conduct free and fair elections, a body is established and has been provided the independence. So the Election Commission has been given the power to conduct elections in a free and fair manner. In the sense, the power is given to other public body, and because of free and fair elections, the government cannot become absolute, it is only limited. Hence, the power given to other public bodies is also an essential feature of limited government. So these are the essential features of limited government. And also one more, that is rule of law. What is this? Rule of law. Everyone is equal before law and equal protection of laws. This rule of law concept is given by Dicey. Given by Dicey, a British person. So rule of law, it is not ruled by men. If it is ruled by men, it is an absolute government. But it is rule of law, and those laws are within the framework of the constitution. Hence, rule of law is limited government. Government cannot behave according to its own whims and fancies. Government should only follow the rules, which is nothing but there is no absolute power. There is a limited power. There is a power, no doubt, but the power is limited. What is the limit? That it has to go only according to the rules, not according to its own whims and fancies. It is not that the people have given me the mandate of 152 majority, like the chief minister says of a state. He says that I have got the mandate of 152 people. That doesn't give you the license to do whatever you feel like. You cannot rule the state according to whims and fancies, according to your own personal interests. You cannot rule the state so as to promote your personal agenda. You can rule the state only according to the rules. That is why rule of law is an essential feature of limited government. Right? So please note it down. Separation of powers. Distribution of powers is nothing but separation of powers. Separation of powers. So in this place, please write it down as separation of powers. And rule of law, liberties of individuals is nothing but fundamental rights, rights of citizens. So rule of law is 1, separation of powers is 2, fundamental rights is 3, distribution of powers between center and states is 4, periodic elections is 5, power given to other public bodies is 6. So please write down these 6 features of limited government. And also you can add independent media and judiciary. Independent media and independent judiciary you can add to the limited government. So this is about constitutionalism. This is about constitutionalism. So tomorrow the next video class is going to be about the facts of the constitution and the origins of constitution. Thank you.